So yeah, the original directors were a directing duo by the name of Phil Lord and Chris Miller. So they directed like the Lego movie and Lego Batman, lots of comedy, right? And so originally Lucasfilm wanted this to be a comedy. Well, they got fired halfway through principal photography because they were doing a lot of like improvisational shooting for the movie, and the screenwriter especially was like, no, I want you to like say the actual lines that I wrote on the page. So he wasn't happy about that. They took this 2-week break, and then after the 2 weeks, in comes a brand new director, who of course is none other than Ron Howard. The great Ron Howard comes in, who, funny enough, he actually was offered to direct Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and turned it down because he was like, whoa, that sounds way too daunting. I don't want to be somebody who's going to have to tackle Star Wars. And so I'm wondering if maybe he jumped in on Solo because he's like, well, if it sucks and people hate it, I can just be like, listen, I only came through halfway, so you really can't blame me. Kind of a brilliant choice, actually. So Ron Howard, yeah, he shot for 3.5 weeks, and then he did the 5 weeks of pickup shoots and stuff like that. At the end of the day, apparently he did about 70 to 80% of the final film. So that's why he gets a directing credit and Lord and Miller just get a producing credit. The good things about this movie, Han and Chewie have a lot of great moments. We get to see their friendship start. They meet, you know, and they well, I won't ruin all of it in case you haven't seen it, but all the stuff on the swamp planet is a lot of fun. We get to see them fly the Millennium Falcon for the first time, and there's a lot of like little quiet moments when they introduce each other after like they're off of the swamp planet. The second thing that I like is just the action sequences. Actually, there's a lot of good action stuff. The speeder chase at the beginning, the train heist, the Kessel Run, all that stuff is super interesting. And then the third thing that I like is, of course, Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. Donald, first off, he's a great actor. What's up, Cameron? Nice to see you, buddy. But Donald also strikes that perfect balance of like paying tribute to what came before, but also adding his new take to the role. You are probably familiar with the fact that he tried to replicate kind of the speech patterns that Billy D. Williams uses in The Empire Strikes Back and use that in his performance. So for a diehard fan like me, I love that. Thanks for the like, Leah. Everybody else, if you want to like, that'd be sweet. Okay, so quickly, a few bad things. Let's face it, no one can play this role like Harrison Ford can. Alden Ehrenreich does the best that he can, but dude, he just doesn't have that special thing that Harrison has. And I think he was probably miscast. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this kid, Anthony Ingruber, I guess, who played the young version of Harrison Ford in the movie Age of Adeline. He looks uncanny to Harrison Ford. It's like almost creepy. Now, I don't know if he's a good actor because I've never seen that movie, but like, couldn't you get somebody who maybe is even like the same height as Harrison Ford? L3, the droid, is just terrible. She's so annoying, and like, I love the idea that droids have some level of being like a sentient being. We've seen that in the past where like droids feel pain and perhaps have some feelings, but this took it really too far where like she's supposed to have this physical relationship with Lando, and it's just weird and kind of dumb. Last thing that I don't like about, and there's a few things, but I'm only going to mention the 3 right now before we get started. The Millennium Falcon. So the idea was that they were going to change it because it's Lando's party ship, right? But it looks so different that it doesn't feel like the same ship that we know. And I'm watching like the set design, and like yellow leather, there's no indication that any of that exists on the Millennium Falcon in the original trilogy. And like the hallways are so white, it looks more like the Tantive 4 ship that we see at the very beginning of the first Star Wars movie when the Stormtroopers come in. Like, I expect Stormtroopers to walk through the Millennium Falcon hallways. And, of course, we don't. Finger on the trigger. 3, 2, 1, play. Solo. Let's see. Terry Bronson says, Harrison Ford, best Han, best Indiana. See, yeah, that's the thing. Like, they keep saying that they're going to maybe replace the role of Indiana Jones someday. I'm like, haven't we done enough with this character? Of course, I was never a big Indiana Jones fan in the first place, but thank you, Kelvin. Not a fan of the Millennium Falcon either. All right, so this is interesting. It is a lawless time. Crime syndicates compete for resources. Instead of a crawl, we get just this blue text that's the same font as the Long Time Ago. And we're told about Lady Proxima on Corellia. Corellia has and always will be Han Solo's home planet. On these streets, a young man fights for survival. Cameron, thanks for the comment. Yeah. So Corellia 2, you might know if you're a big Expanded Universe fan, is the same home planet for Wedge. Wedge Antilles, the rebel pilot, is also from Corellia. So a cool shot, right, to begin with, the sparks. Like, that's a fun image. And here we have Alden. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the height difference. So Harrison Ford in real life is 6'1". Alden is 5'9". Nothing against people that are 5'9", because I'm 5'9". But, like, you can tell he just doesn't have that gravitas. The Solo title coming towards the camera is pretty cool looking. Terry, I didn't like the guy who played Lando either. Oh, that blows my mind, dude. Donald Glover is a treasure. And I think he does a phenomenal job in the role. There's the dice that are like a big deal now in the Disney era, which I've already talked about, but it seems very strange to me that they would fixate on such a weird prop that was barely seen in A New Hope and never seen again in the original trilogy. So the working title for this movie was Red Cup. Get it? Solo Red Cups. Yeah, see what they did there? I thought that was actually really clever. But with all the behind-the-scenes stuff, you see Red Cup written all over the place. All right, so looks like Hans... This movie is so dark. That's another thing, like, it's a cool choice, but it's also distracting and frustrating because you want to see everything, and it's hard to pick stuff out. All right, so here's Kira. Of course, we know right off the bat they have a relationship. Terry says he likes the actor, just not for that. Any other recommendations for the role of Billy D. Williams and Lando Calrissian? Oh shoot! There we go. I thought I had a weird hiccup there for a second. All right, so Kira, of course, is played by Emilia Clarke, Daenerys Targaryen herself from Game of Thrones. For all you GOT fans out there, she's great. She's good in this role. This was a tough role. She actually had a hard time in this role because the director changed and she wasn't really sure what they were going for. I think they eventually landed on this idea of her being like a femme fatale type of character, like from the old film noir movies in the 50s and whatnot. Especially later on. Okay, so this alien's name is Moloch. He's the same species as Lady Proxima, which they're called the White Worms, but they have a real name. The species starts with a G. I wrote it down here. Grindelid. The White Worm's actual species is Grindelid, and yeah, I guess the females, and specifically Lady Proxima, is like the queen bee of the Grindelids. And she like harvests her eggs down in the water under that surface. And there was a lot more stuff shot of Lady Proxima underwater with like I guess her babies. There's this footage of like these worms swimming around in the water. It's creepy but kind of cool. Kind of cool. So here Han is like, yeah, I was gonna get your stuff, but these people double-crossed you. Talking his way out of it. All these kids are called scrum rats. They're going for like an Oliver Twist sort of thing. Caleb, can't join tonight. Bummer. I'll be sure to watch this and put my comments on YouTube when it's up. Sounds good, buddy. Appreciate you at least stopping by and saying hi. I know there's a few people who can't show up tonight, but I appreciate you all stopping by and saying hello. That's awesome. So these Grindelids, they are from a different planet where like the atmosphere or something, they had to adapt to a weird atmosphere, and that's why they can't be exposed to sunlight. I do like Han's vest here in this moment. Of course, he's always worn a vest, throughout the original trilogy. Jessica, thanks for the like. Appreciate all the likes. See, all the lighting in here is very blue and dark. Kira, by the way, was a name that George Lucas came up with. Like when he first wrote the original Star Wars. This is pretty funny. There's some good humor in here. So he holds up a rock, makes makes a noise with his tongue as if it's a thermal detonator. Jessica, yay! How's your little girl? Is she watching? Is she a big Star Wars fan? So Han breaks open the window, Lady Proxima freaks out, and then immediately you see Moloch have to shield his face because he can't be exposed to sunlight either. So, of course, this is our chance for the orphans to leave their environment. Did I already mention this is like an Oliver Twist sort of scenario here? I think that's what they're going for. Okay, these dogs, too. If any of you have ever seen the movie Willow, directed by Ron Howard, there's like some similar devil dogs in that movie, and I think he was kind of paying homage to those dogs. This is fun. So a lot of this stuff was shot like an actual industrial park because they had to hire real stunt drivers and get stunt vehicles to do a lot of this. Oh, they're so young and they have high hopes. A lot of story elements throughout this film really work. I like the idea that, of course, Han is trying to fight his way out of the crappy life that he's been living. There's a good shot of those demon dogs. There's other elements that don't work as well. Like when he stumbles upon Beckett and Beckett's gang, it seems like a little too convenient. But Moloch is in the speeder behind Han, chasing him. Like, this is all good stuff, watching all these stunt drivers do their thing. And there's a classic droid. That black droid is from similar to the one that we see in A New Hope on the Sandcrawler. But yeah, Moloch is driving what they call like a truck speeder. The idea was that it was like a semi-truck, like approaching Han and Kira's speeder. Terry says, Willow, good movie. I've never seen it. Never seen Willow. I know that Warwick Davis is like the main guy in it, so I feel like I certainly need to put it on the list. Oh, there's a classic trooper, maybe? Speeder trooper? It's been a while since I've seen this one too. But yeah, I feel like this industrial park where they shot a lot of the stuff was like in Jersey or New York. I think I wrote down somewhere here. I don't remember. As usual, a lot of the stuff was shot in England, like most Star Wars films typically are. Except for the prequels. For whatever reason, the prequels, George wanted to go to Australia. It might have just been episodes 2 and 3 actually. All of this is taking place 10 years before A New Hope, by the way. This is kind of cool because he's taking the speeder at an angle which you see him do all the time with the Millennium Falcon. And there's a tight spit and he's going an angle. Leah says, can we get more cat in the frame? Sorry, Bluebell decided to go over by the chair. Peter, pull over. No, it's a cardigan, but thanks. Good one, good one. Gotta get those dice, Han. There was also a deleted scene where they're like running from them on foot. And that got cut, but like Kira and Han are running from them by foot. They hide in like a tank. They think that it's just water, and it ends up being like these weird snakes in there, which like bite Han right before he tries to kiss Kira. There's a cute almost kiss moment. All right, so here we are in the Coronaut spaceport. It's supposed to be kind of like Ellis Island. Terry says he's headed back to Rise of Skywalker. So many comments on that. Oh, I'm sure. Come Tuesday night, I'll be ready for him. Too bad you couldn't follow along with Solo. How do you not have a copy of Solo? That's all right. Thanks for stopping by, Terry. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks again, buddy. So here we are. This is supposed to be like going through customs or whatnot, coming through Ellis Island. There's obviously an Imperial presence here, but I think a lot of it too is still Corellian's government. I'm not sure. It's good to see the classic stormtroopers in their uniforms, though, right? See, she already references Crimson Dawn, which we know that's the criminal organization that the main villain in this movie is part of later in the film. I wonder if the male white worms are supposed to get as big as the female white worms, because Moloch is really short compared to Lady Proxima. So this is obviously an Imperial. She's got the Imperial cog on her shoulder there. Coaxium, man, quite the commodity. I do like to see like a lot of the old Imperial costumes and like those weird platform pedal looking things that they stand in the circle in. Do it! There's Han Solo trying to do his best Emperor Palpatine impression. Do it! And of course he gets through, but she doesn't. What a bummer. Tim Ellis, you watching? Hey, buddy. This is sad. See, I actually do like a lot of the Han and Kira stuff, too. Especially, like, how different she is in the beginning compared to when they meet up later. Like, he doesn't have a whole lot to live for, a whole lot in his life that brings him any happiness, and Kira, like, is that one thing. So all of that's pretty interesting. Here he grabs a random person's cape and hat. He just seems so short to me. I mean, I'm not one to talk, because like I said, I'm 5'9" as well, but like he just doesn't have that presence that Harrison Ford has. And I think when you put him up against Chewbacca and Kira, because let's face it, Emilia Clarke isn't a giant either, and he's like the same height as Emilia, so it's a little strange. These troopers, they're so mean. This bothers me. So there's like this PSA, or not PSA, but like a "we want you to join the Empire" commercial running at the spaceport, and in it they have the Imperial March, which to me seems odd because the soundtrack and the score to these films has always been part of our experience, but not something that the in-universe characters are aware of. So didn't love that choice. Okay, here is the very controversial scene where Han gets his last name. People hated this. It never really bothered me. Like, that happened at Ellis Island a lot, right? Peter says, lamest line in the movie. I mean, like, people's names were changed or added to a lot. And I think what the filmmakers were going for was that scene in Godfather 2 when, what's his name? Vito's name gets changed at Ellis Island. And then it cuts straight to Mimban 3 years later. So here Han is serving in the Empire as a soldier. So there's a deleted scene that was supposed to happen between these two cuts. And it was going to go from him getting his name or whatever to him piloting a TIE fighter. Like Han was actually going to be assigned as a pilot first. But he got in trouble. You see him in the TIE fighter, and I guess it's implied that he went the wrong way or did something wrong on his flight. And so the next scene cuts to him getting reprimanded by his superior officer, and then it comes to Mimban, the swamp planet. So that's Beckett. Gosh, the shadows in this movie are so tough to track. Peter says, should have named him Han Zambranowicz. That would have rolled right off of the tongue, my friend. So Mimban, yeah, this planet, this swamp planet, first appeared on the Clone Wars. And these troopers are swamp troopers, It's funny that their faces are exposed because we never really see troopers' faces exposed except for when it's like our main cast. So, spoiler here, in case you haven't seen this movie, these three goons here are not actually Imperials. They are disguised as Imperials, but they are part of a gang that's trying to steal a spaceship, a hauler. This is the part of the plot that just is like, okay, I guess I'll really have to just suspend my disbelief a little too much. Peter says, I do like Army helmets, similar with the Trooper helmets. Yeah, I like this Swamp Trooper design quite a bit. Very unlike anything we've seen. So, of course, Woody Harrelson plays Tobias Beckett. I don't love that casting choice either. It's not because I don't love Woody. I love Woody Harrelson. But I can't not see Woody Harrelson. Like, he's such a unique person and a pretty big, like, he's pretty close to an A-list type of celebrity. Whereas the good thing about Star Wars over the years is that they've usually cast people that you're not familiar with. And so you can totally buy that they're these characters. And Woody, I think, is just too big of a name. I think Paul Bettany, the guy who plays the villain in this, is about as big as you can go without it becoming odd. And Woody is weird for me. Great, more mud. Yeah, I love those goggles that they have. All of them have them set up on the forehead part of the helmet right now, but it's pretty cool. Kelvin agreed. Great character, bad choice. Oh, for Beckett? Yeah. Yeah, I just can't not. I just always think, oh, it's Woody Harrelson. That's weird. I saw that comment, and then it went away. Hi, Hannah. All right. So they're talking about what they're going to steal. This is Val, Tobias Beckett and Val. They are in a relationship. Hannah says she watched this last night. Why didn't you wait for me, Hannah? Ugh, I'm offended. So Han has put it together because he's smarter than everybody else that these uniforms have been stolen. Smart. This is one plot point that I'm just like, okay, it's a stretch, but we'll go along with it. And they're like, oh, you know the truth, now we're going to have to kill you. One other thing about the battle that they just had on here, like, it's funny that you never see really their opponents that well. Like, where are the rebels that the Imperials are fighting? And I think it's supposed to be natives to the planet. You can see one of them in a decent shot. But we're so used to seeing the rebels as our heroes, and the Imperials are just behind a mask. And here it's reversed, which is pretty interesting, actually. Hannah, your dad put it on. Oh, well, I'll let it slide. But you need to join me Tuesday night for Rise of Skywalker. Kelvin says they can use famous actors as voices for aliens. Yeah, I think that's better. Like kind of a Maz Kanata type of role. Or even Snoke. Like, those are good type of roles to have, like a high A-list celebrity voice. Does Woody... See, I'm calling him Woody. Does Beckett put gum in his mouth at that moment? I've never really thought about gum in the Star Wars universe. So here's another thing that I just find hard to suspend my disbelief around. Beckett apparently has been involved or undercover here as an Imperial for so long that this other Imperial officer trusts him. So, like, you've developed some kind of rapport with this guy. How long have the three of you crooks been disguised as troopers? I don't know. It's a bit much. But, okay, so Han is now being thrown in here, and these two jerks are like, oh, we'll let the beast kill him? I guess. This is what happens when you defy your orders in the Empire. So this has changed, obviously, from the old expanded universe, because Han originally saved Chewie. He was a slave. Chewie was a slave and working to do something, and he was being mistreated or something, and like Han stopped the act from happening. I don't know if someone's gonna shoot Chewie or what, but this now is totally different. This is a great shot of Chewbacca. There's just a lot of good Chewie moments, and for me being a big Chewie fan, I definitely appreciate that about the movie. So this whole scene took like 3 weeks for them to shoot. 3 weeks, and it was one of the very first things that they did. So it created a nice opportunity for Alden and Jonas to get to know each other. By this point, Peter Mayhew had passed away. So the new guy is in the Chewie suit here, Jonas Sutomo, or whatever his last name is. And it works good because he was an athlete and he has a lot of stuff to do, and I guess he trained quite a bit too, because you see him in the gym with his Wookiee costume on, working out. I like this idea where he's going to literally bury Han in the mud. Like, how sick and disturbing. This is the first time we see a human speak Shirwook. Shirwook is the Wookiee language, by the way. And we get to see it subtitled for the first time ever as well. So that's kind of fun. This scene was originally a lot longer too. Like, their fight was going to drag on for another couple minutes. And I think you can find those scenes online somewhere. But, yeah. Han has given him the idea, hey, we just got to knock down this pole, and then we'll be out of here. Hannah says, 3 weeks? That's crazy. I know. And what's really sucky, and I know this from experience, sometimes you'll be working on set on a movie or something, and you won't realize, they'll shoot a whole day's worth of footage, and 3 months later they'll be like, nah, we don't need any of that stuff. So it's like, man, that was such a waste of a day. But that's just how it works. 3 weeks of this, and they probably cut half of it out because it was a long, extended fight scene. So there's the Hauler, the ship that Beckett's gang stole, and the whole reason why they're there in the first place. This reminds me a little bit of Oh Brother, We're Out Thou. If anybody is a fan of the Coen Brothers film, where they're all attached, the 3 guys are attached to each other by the legs. Another thing too was the mud, that they had a hard time with Chewie's costume, right? Because the mud would just cake on the thing, especially the legs apparently. So instead of like applying mud to the costume, they used some makeup and some mud. Alright, so here we get to see Rio, the one of the 3 crooks whose face was not exposed. It's because he's like a crazy little alien monkey, voiced by Jon Favreau, who of course is directing a lot of The Mandalorian now. Han has escaped, and he's convinced Chewie to go beg for help here from the gang. I just watched Iron 3 earlier today, so I'm getting a double dose of Jon Favreau, because of course he plays Happy Hogan in Iron Man movies. He does a lot. He's another voice of a character on the Clone Wars that I don't like. I don't really love Jon Favreau's voice work, to be honest. In Clone Wars, it's very over the top. And here, it's okay, but I kind of feel like he's always trying to make a joke. I'm like, you can just be a cool alien dude. You don't always have to play for the joke. But love Favreau. I got respect for Favreau. This is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, and it's really fast. It's just them meeting in the shower. And Han being like, dude, we don't need to shower at the same time. I know that you're tired of being like caked in mud. Alright, so this beautiful footage here, this was all shot in the mountains in Spain. Dolomites, I believe is what it's called. This planet, yeah, Dolomites. Gorgeous. So this planet is called Vandor, or Vandor 1. Now that Chewie's dried off, coming out to bond with his best friend now for the rest of his life. It's weird too because in the expanded universe, Chewie owed Han a life debt because Han saved Chewie's life, and they decided to get rid of that. I don't know if they. I think Lucasfilm saw it kind of like as maybe Han was enslaving Chewie, perhaps, but I think they misunderstood life debt. Like, it was something that in Wookiee culture they chose to do that sort of thing. So, what's your name? Another cool thing about the way they wrote the script too was that they literally wrote out all of Chewie's lines in English. So, like, Alden knew exactly what the character of Chewbacca was saying to Han. And I kind of love that. I love these old binoculars that are super throwback to A New Hope times. And we're coming up on train heist. Except they don't call it trains. They call it conveyance or something like that. It's a good action scene. And again, a lot of elements of this movie are supposed to be similar to like the old westerns. And this follows suit with that. Okay, so Enfys Nest is brought up by Val and how she's concerned they're going to show up. And this was confusing to me when I first saw this movie. I think this is a problem with the film and how it's a little unclear because I thought Enfys Nest was like the whole group of marauders. Because that's kind of in the context of their conversation how it's talked about, but it's really just the one person. Bossk. Okay, here Val mentions Bossk. So for those of you big fans of Star Wars and the original trilogy, Bossk was one of the bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back who was tasked with finding Han Solo, funny enough. The big alien, he's like a reptilian, Trandoshan is the name of his species, but it's a reptilian type of species. I can't remember yet if we figured out the relationship. So Val and Tobias are married. We don't know much about their history. There's a small comic book about Beckett, but I don't know if it goes into like their backstory. This whole idea that he plays a Valacord, I think that's kind of corny, but funny, I guess. See, and Jon Favreau's voice is really distinct to me too. Like, I'm like, hey, I know that voice. That's Jon Favreau. Apparently they hired an actress to be in like the suit for Rio, this character that Jon Favreau voices. It's like a mix of digital character and an on-set performance by a circus performer, the little circus performer actress, which I thought was cool. See, I do really like the idea that Han is really, his motivation totally comes from this childhood sweetheart that he had. And here was really where we really get to see, Val and Beckett are a thing. Val is played by an actress. Hold on, let me find her name. I kept on thinking it was Zoe Saldana who plays Gamora in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. They look similar, but it's not Zoe. Wrote it down. Thandie Newton is her name. I think that's how you say it. Wookiees were enslaved by the Empire. See, that's what if Terry was still watching, I would point that out to him. So we get to hear a little about Chewie's backstory. Sam, thanks for the like, buddy. I appreciate that. And Arla, how's it going? Looks like she's watching. Every once in a while I'll see people join in. It's harder for me to track than if y'all just comment. There's a perk of having 4 arms. You can eat and cook at the same time and scratch your head and clean up the floor. Okay, so Beckett just gave Han his blaster. This is something where I was like, I don't know that we really need to know the story about how Han got his blaster, but that is the blaster that we see Han use throughout the rest of the original trilogy. Beckett, and what's funny is I'm pretty sure it's also the blaster that Han uses to shoot Beckett at the end of the movie, but whatever. Alright, so here they are on the hauler approaching the train. I'm going to just keep calling it a train. And in one of these cars is the coaxium that they are after. At this point, we still don't know what Beckett and his groupies need the coaxium for. But yeah, this girl who plays Val, her mother apparently was a Zimbabwean princess. When I read that, I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." And she moved to the UK and eventually, gave birth to Tandy. Tandy? I don't know how she pronounces her last name. Hopefully it's like the Star Wars universe and you can pronounce stuff however you want. Okay, so here's the coaxium. Another reference to hell in the Star Wars universe. Han Solo uses the word hell in The Empire Strikes Back. I forgot that it's used here as well. Very interesting about the afterlife, or at least what people other than Jedi believe about the afterlife, perhaps. Alright, so the Imperials have discovered... Oh, somebody is doing some shenanigans. I believe these are Imperial snowtroopers, because of course Vandor is a snow planet. Yeah, they've got their furry coats. Aaron Brown, dude! What's up, man? So good to see you, pal. How you doing? They also got a lot of new sound effects for Chewie for this film, because Chewie is such a much bigger role in this movie than he sometimes has been. But the original sound designer is not with Lucasfilm anymore. Ben Burtt, who created and acquired all these iconic sounds, apparently didn't have as good of a relationship with certain people at Disney Lucasfilm. Drama! There's always a lot of drama. That's good. He still sounds like Chewie. All those bear sound effects still come across really good. And while we have a swell of music, I should talk about the music a little bit, because John Williams did not come out for this one. He kind of sticks with the episodic films. But he did write one piece of music, which was the Han Solo theme. Don't ask me where it's played, because I couldn't pick it out from the rest of the music. But it's cool. Because Leia has a theme, and Luke and Vader all have themes from the original trilogy. But Han never really had one. Oh, here they come. So here is Enfys Nest. Jason can't watch tonight, but dropping in saying I think it's an unnecessary movie. Well, aren't all movies kind of unnecessary? But a well-made movie that is way better than it should have been. Interesting, especially given the behind-the-scenes issues. Yeah, I can agree with you there. Love to see Lord and Miller's full version. Oh, I can't imagine what Lord and Miller's version would have been like. Very, very different, I'm certain. The design here for a lot of Enfys Nest's and apparently her group is called the Cloud Riders. So I don't even think that that's mentioned in the movie. But I always thought the group as a whole was Enfys Nest. But no, the group is the Cloud Riders. Yeah, a Lord and Miller version would have been very different. My biggest thing is just back to, I can't really buy that it's Han Solo. I just never can not think, oh, that's somebody else trying to be Han Solo, Alright, so things aren't going well. Rio just got hit. Yeah, he didn't last too long. And the hauler is down. John Powell, I think, is the actual composer for the rest of this score. He did a lot of music for animation, a lot of animated films, like Ants and non-Disney animated films is what John Powell works on. Rio, you are not looking so good, my friend. So now Han kind of gets his first chance to pilot something with his new friends. Oh, some of the probe droids that we see in Empire Strikes Back. So that's kind of cool to see. They look a little bit different on top, but they're pretty close. I love Enfys Nest's costume design. Her helmet, or his helmet. I'm assuming everybody has seen this movie, so I'm talking as if you have. Spoiler, it's not a dude behind the mask, it's a chick. And her helmet is super tight. I feel like it would be really difficult to fight in that get-up, though. Well, I guess the word hell is used a lot by Finn when he's talking about Poe. Am I right, Peter? But it's not used as much. It's not like the place hell so much as it's, you know, to emphasize how good of a pilot Poe is. That's a cool sword thing the Beckett has. Yeah, Rio is fading fast. And he's gone. Other actors that were considered for Han, by the way, include Taron Egerton, the guy who plays Elton John. The guy who played Elton John in that most recent Elton John movie. Taron Egerton, Miles Teller, who was in the Fantastic Four movie that was bad. Who else? Oh, Scott Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's son. Yeah, none of those would have been very good either. It's weird to see anybody else try to play the role. Alright, so Val is saying, I'm stuck, I'm not going to be able to get out. It's kind of sad. Because she's got to explode the bridge, but she can't vacate the bridge. So she's got the dilemma. Which one do I do? And she decides to sacrifice herself for the cause. Which is a little bit odd to me. Unless I'm missing something here and somebody else wants to chime in. But it's like, wouldn't you rather just save your life and find another way to get coaxium? I mean, obviously she doesn't know that it gets destroyed anyway, but like it makes her death even more tragic because it's going to get dropped and ruined and exploded. Peter says, keep an eye out for Ron Howard's brother Clint. Yes, he is in the scene where they play Sabacc with Lando and the droid chick. So Han decides to let go. And then this special effect here is really cool looking. There goes the package. Val died for nothing. Rio died for nothing. And then this effect was literally a firecracker underwater. Either set up or slowed down. I don't remember which. But it creates that really cool, like, fluid effect. Liquidy, mercury type of effect. Look how beautiful this landscape is. And if I was Tobias Beckett, whoa, would I be pissed. And I know that he does express frustration with Han, but I can't remember how much or how long it lasts. It's weird to see Woody Harrelson have hair too. Alright, well he gets a good punch in. That at least makes sense. So now we find out they're hired by Crimson Dawn. Han's like Crimson Dawn. All those crooks. Yeah, I feel like this would have been more effective if instead of cutting straight to the grave site, we see Beckett's reaction like immediately after everything happened. So we get to see him mourn the loss of his wife and friend, and that they lost the coaxium. So he mentioned Dryden Voss. Dryden is the guy who's running Crimson Dawn, and how much of a jerk he is, and how he's going to kill him. There was a few scenes too that were cut with Han and Chewie like playing in the snow. Like throwing snowballs at each other and stuff. I thought that would have been kind of fun to keep in. Like, you don't need to put that much footage of it, but give me a few more seconds of them goofing around like bros. Gosh, Woody's hair. You think that's a wig? I'm kind of wondering. Terry says just finished. He's been watching Rise of Skywalker for the first time. They made 8 different Wookiee costumes for this movie, by the way. Because which is more than they ever have. Again, there's a lot more Chewie in this movie. See, it just seems like Beckett comes around way too... He's apologizing for punching Han in the face? I wouldn't be apologizing for punching him in the face after they killed my wife, practically. Whether it was intentional or not, still, you're the one to blame for her death. I guess. Maybe he doesn't see it that way. Maybe he isn't blaming Han for Val's death. Okay, so we can see Dryden Voss has shown up. There he is in his yacht. His yacht is called the First Light. This tall, long thing. And he's docked here on the outskirts of this village on Vandor. He's like, "All right, I'm ready to pick up my shipment." And then this concierge chick that meets them is an alien design that was originally going to be used for Kira. Kira was not going to be a human being. She was going to be an alien. She's coming up here sometime soon. Oh, these singers. So I had to look up this guy in the tank, this little weird alien guy in the tank. Apparently his name is Lulilo, and he used to be like a massive music artist, and he had one of his greatest hits was "Your Love Is Gravy." So there's a fun fact. This is so, I don't know how I feel about this scene. Okay, here's the chick, Margot is her name, that just first came up to Beckett. That alien design was going to be Kira's design at one point. And now we see Dryden Voss, played by the great Paul Bettany. Just killed this governor guy. Notice the servant to the left who doesn't have a head. There's like, they got a visor like right at the nose level, and the top of the head is gone, and the bottom of the head is there. There was, I forget the backstory that was supposed to be about those aliens, but they were supposed to make it in an earlier film and never did. So here's Beckett saying, "Hey Han, these are bad people. Don't talk to any of them." It's like, "Quit being my dad." At some point, I'm trying to remember, there's like a girl who comes up and mentions a character that I wanted to highlight. I love that she was like, "Hey, Han, can I go get something to drink?" Oh, here, okay, so this server, I thought she was going to come up. There's a server who comes and brings on a drink here in a second. And she mentions a character by the name Doc Ondor, which, if you've been to Galaxy's Edge in Disney World, there is a store run by Doc Ondor. Here Han sees Kira for the first time since they got separated years ago. He's like, "What are you doing here, bae?" She's looking cute. And there's the security officers, and she's like, "Uh-oh, I don't want definitely don't want Dryden to see me with this guy." It's interesting, like, mean, Han wants to trust her. But I think we as an audience know right away something is changed. Who is this version of Qi'ra? I guess the interior set of this... Oh, here's the exchange. Yeah, Chris says, have you been attentive to Doc Ondor? Doc Ondor's shop is at Disneyland. I highly recommend checking out because there's a lot of cool swag and toys and stuff for nerds like me at Doc Ondor's store. And Chewie's got crap all over his face. Doc Ondor appears in like some of the comics too, and has a pretty cool story about it because he's a collector. He's a hammerhead alien guy, like from what you see in A New Hope. I'm sorry, I'm getting super nerdy here, but he collects certain artifacts, and one of the artifacts that he's had his hands on was Ki-Adi-Mundi's lightsaber. Ki-Adi-Mundi is a Jedi from the prequel trilogy here, and apparently Jabba came across his lightsaber, and so Doc Ondor goes to Jabba to get Ki-Adi-Mundi's lightsaber. Lots of layers of nerdiness there. Not really related to Solo that much, but if you're into that sort of thing. And Beckett and Qi'ra know each other. And here comes Dryden. But yeah, so this set design was based on like the architecture of one of Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings in California, apparently. Which I can kind of see. Again, the use of light in this film is really interesting. You have all that light in the back, that backlight that you don't normally get. There's like this weird thing between Dryden and Qi'ra, right? See, the way that he touches her is like very creepy. Like you can tell that there's been some stuff going down in Qi'ra's life since Han has been away from her. Dryden is what they call a near human, so he has like just a few things that obviously those markings on his face when he gets emotional, I guess it's like connected to his circulatory system, and they get really bright. So his office has a lot of Easter eggs in here too. Yeah, there's supposed to be like a Mandalorian suit of armor hanging up. Apparently the Indiana Jones fertility idol is in like on a bookshelf or something in here, and maybe even the Holy Grail. I don't know. I've not spotted any of these things, but these are like all the rumors of stuff. There's a crystal skull. That's oh, there's the holocron. So there's a Sith holocron back there as well. I'm just trying to find all this stuff that supposedly is in his office. Yeah, Paul Bettany didn't know they were going to do a lot of that digital enhancement to his face. It looks pretty good. I mean, he didn't wear any sort of like mocap dots or anything. Peter says, I just missed the idol. Okay. Is it? Oh, I see it. It's on the table, right? Kind of behind Beckett, I think. Yeah. As I said that, Peter, I literally just read your thing. That's hilarious. All right, so they're talking about how they're going to find coaxium. Han suggests finding it unrefined, some that hasn't been processed yet, on Kessel. Syndicates. So obviously there's some sort of relationship between several crime organizations, including Crimson Dawn, the Pikes, the Hutts were mentioned earlier. Yeah, I see the idol. It's right there front and center. That is awesome. I'd never caught that before. There's a lot of gold in this set. I mean, a lot of yellow throughout the whole movie. See, Alden's a good actor. He was in the movie Hail Caesar, which I would highly recommend to people too if they've never seen it. And he's hysterical in that movie. So I don't blame him. I just don't think he's right for the role. He's no Harrison Ford. So they're still working through what they got to do. They got to steal the unrefined coaxium, and then they got to ship it off to this other planet to process it. All that jazz. Paul Bettany's great. Apparently, okay, so the role of Dryden Voss, or the character, was supposed to be completely different back when Lord and Miller were shooting the film. It was going to be a CG character. Let me read Peter's thing here. The Pike kit that was referenced is also part of the Clone Wars series. Yeah, the Pikes started in the Clone Wars and were another George Lucas creation. And got moved here to the big screen, so to speak. But, so Dryden, he was supposed to be like, I don't know, I find different descriptions from various sources. Yeah, there's the Mandalorian. The actor who played him described him as like a lion human type of character. But then other people described it as like a dragon bird sort of thing. And then one source mentioned he might be a Lasat, like Zed from Rebels. If there are any Rebels fans out there, which would have been cool to see a Lasat in real life. But yeah, the actor who originally played Michael K. Williams, he's on a lot of HBO shows like Boardwalk Empire. He had conflicts with the changing of the schedule, so he couldn't come back to finish the role. So they had to reshoot all of it. All right, so here we are finding a pilot. They got to get a ship to get them to Kessel, right? So they go to this place called The Lodge, right across the street. How convenient. And Kira knows this guy here. Wonder who that could be. As far as I know, they haven't really expanded on the backstory between the Kira-Lando relationship in any comic or anything, but I certainly could have missed something. So if anybody knows of stuff like that, holla at me. And here, we get to see Mr. Calrissian for the first time. I gotta say, I love a lot of the aliens around here. I don't love that we don't see many classic aliens, but the new designs are cool. Alright, so now that we're getting ready to play Sabacc, I gotta show you guys. I like the skulls that are hanging up, kind of like you would see in an old saloon too. That's a very Western type shot there of Han's backside approaching the table. But guys, I have my own Sabacc cards. So when I went to Galaxy's Edge, this was like the only thing that I allowed myself to purchase as like a treat. And it's an interesting game in that like you could play a very simple version of it, or you could play a really complex version. And they had to create the game for the movie, right? So I got my decks. I got my cards. It's a lot of fun. Lando pronounces Han's name as Han. See, that's a nice nod to the Billy D version of the character. One thing that did bother me about Rise of Skywalker is Lando doesn't call him Han. I'm like, dude, the whole joke is that you always call Han you pronounce his name Han instead of Han. Peter says, I know a guy who knows a guy who's knows a guy. Right? That's probably how Kira knows Lando. Okay, that ship that Han mentions, the V6X-100, that's the same ship model as the Ghost in Rebels. That's a cool thing. See these aliens, that one next to Han, his name is Six Eyes. And a lot of these are just puppets. Really cool puppets made. Hopefully we'll get to see more of them. Yeah, you see the twins there? Leah, it's cute how excited you get about this stuff. Thanks, Leah. Appreciate it. Yeah, I love the little twins. I love the big guy with the helmet. All these alien creatures are pretty tight. The moment here where the Six Eyes character like tries to look at his hand and then doesn't. Elizabeth, thanks for the like. Appreciate it. Okay, and then this guy is a spy for the Cloud Riders, Enfys Nest. The guy that eats up his cards is really great. There's just a lot of little fun, quirky moments. The lighting though is crazy. So one that the director of photography did mention about this scene is that they didn't use traditional lighting on it, which is pretty obvious. They kind of just went with the natural light from the lighting, like the lights that were put on the set to be part of the set is basically what they used. They didn't add any additional big lights that you might use on a normal film set. Hope that makes sense. Like, I get it because I've been on film sets and I see how many lights you actually have to use. But here, they're going with the bare minimum. All right, so they're gambling. Apparently, in the novelization, though, the only reason Lando is here is because his ship is here, and he has no good way of getting his ship. Han thinks he's won, shaking hands with old Six Eyes. And Lando's a big. This is the EU. This is classic expanded universe stuff, where this game isn't where Han wins the Falcon, obviously. So they kind of try to trick us there. I guess. Lando, what a cheater! Caught his sleeves. Clint Howard's big cameo's coming up soon, Mr. Tripp. So there's the droids that are battling in there. Remember that droid show, that robot show where Robot Wars, I think? So are we not supposed to enjoy Robot Wars anymore because Solo a Star Wars told me not to? Kira. Lando has a way with the ladies. What are you doing with Harry? Who's Harry? Do you think Chewie is the one that he's referring to as Harry? Aaron says Solo is not on Disney Plus yet. Yeah, it's on Netflix, bro. You will have to get on that. Let me know if you want a timestamp, my friend. I haven't done yet, so I'll give one now. 58:30. 58:33. I love Dumbledore. How good does Kira look in that? Ara Singh. Okay, so Lando mentions that Beckett Ara Singh. Ara Singh is a character who had a really quick appearance in Phantom Menace, and fans were like, "Whoa, we want more about this chick. She's a bounty hunter." So Ara Singh got added to the Clone Wars. Here, and asked for another time stamp. And then apparently Beckett at some point killed Ara Singh. All right, so we're at 59:16, 59:20. Coming up on Lando tracking down his stupid Dread Elfie. Peter says, Kira, she looks good in every scene, duh. Well, you're right. She's a pretty attractive girl. There's Clint. So yeah, that's Ron Howard's little brother, I believe. He got in here as like the droid wrangler. So the actress who does L3 is on set performing L3. She's in like some green costume, and then other, like the head is part of the physical costume, chest plate, arms, basically everything except the wire is an actual practical costume piece. So it's pretty good. She looks dope. She's just super annoying. You should have wiped her memory, Lando. You should have done it. One character that they talked about putting into the movie was Bib Fortuna from Jabba's Palace. John Kasdan, the screenwriter, actually really wanted. He's a big fan of Jabba's aliens and stuff, and he's really pushing for Bib Fortuna to get into one of these scenes. But they told him that no. It's like, man, I would have loved to have seen it. But we see he's in Rogue One. This is a funny moment. This is like the only moment with L3 that I actually enjoy, where she's got to like squat down and stand awkwardly to open the gate. I can feel you watching me. That's funny. Oh boy, we're about to meet her. The Millennium Falcon. And I love how Lando pretends that he had no idea that it's been locked up, booted. Anybody ever get their car booted? It happened to a friend of mine once when we went to go see a show, and it was a rough night. Yeah, like why did they feel the need to put an escape pod up there in the notch? I just feel like they went a little bit too far to change the Falcon. I want the old Falcon that I've always loved. Lando. This is a funny exchange. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I accept it. Okay, so yeah, emphasis there. It's a step that they're tracking where the Millennium Falcon is going. They have such creepy voices. One funny thing that Glover, there's an interview where they ask basically every actor what they did when they found out they got the role in the movie. And Donald Glover was like, dude, I found out and went out to celebrate and got pizza like an hour later, and everybody knew. The pizza guy was like, hey man, anything for you, Lando. And people on the street were like, oh, hey, Lando. And then like the next day he was at the airport, and everybody he bumped into was like, hey, I hear you're Lando. And he's like, how does that happen? Alden, on the other hand, when he found out he got the role, and he couldn't tell anybody, of course, he was like, well, I got to sell it somehow. I guess I'll go for a walk on the pier. I think he like rode a roller coaster or something. Like you were hilarious. So the lighting in the ship looks so different too. Like I don't see the cockpit put in this blue light very often. Kira, she's such a cutie. See, there's these moments. Her character's really interesting. Where like there are moments where she's the same old Kira that Han remembers from their childhood, and there's other moments where it's like something's wrong. Something's off. Pass through the maelstrom. So, yeah. We'll talk more about the Kessel Run coming up. This is cool because on set, they've got this big rig they created for all the actors to be in the cockpit, right? And they move it around. And they just recently developed the technology to put an LED screen in front of them so they can project the hyperspace for the actors. And in The Mandalorian, they're using that same sort of tech to really produce most all of their environments. It's insane. All right, so here we are playing some Dejarik, or chess. Holo chess. I don't love that Chewie tries to wipe them off, because Chewie knows tech. Like, he's a smart being. He can clearly see that it's a holo chess. So that's one thing about Chewie in this movie that I'm like, really? Come on, don't dumb him down. Look how pristine white. It doesn't look like the Falcon. He's got a bed laid out. They actually did add some new rooms to the Falcon for some of these scenes. One of these blue capes, I don't know, I think maybe it's supposed to be that one, is supposed to be similar to the one that Lando wears in Cloud City in The Empire Strikes Back. So George Lucas came and visited set on this day. This was the first day that they came back after their hiatus when they fired old directors and they brought on Ron Howard. First day was them making out here in the Cape Closet. And George Lucas came by to like say hi to Ron and say hi to some of the cast again, or introduce himself to the cast. And he was supposed to come by for like half an hour or whatever and ended up staying the whole day. And he actually gave Alden an acting note here. He takes the cloak right there and he tosses it off to the side. Because originally, I guess Han was supposed to put the cloak on the rack. And George Lucas was like, guys, Han wouldn't put a cloak up on a rack. He would just toss it out of the way. And they were like, oh yeah, this guy must know the character, knows what he's talking about. I thought that was cool. Smooching! So yeah, how funny, like Emilia Clarke talks about how it was great to see George Lucas, but it was also like, okay, we did 20 takes of making out in the Cape Closet. And she's like, I can tell that she's almost about to make. Such kids. See, my wife does not like seeing Han kiss anybody but Leia, but you know, this was long before Leia. And somewhere I read that room is supposed to be like the same one that Leia and Han kiss in, but I don't know if I'm buying that. Everything about this is off. It's too wide, too clean. The colors themselves just don't look right. It worked with Val. I mean, Han's point there, Beckett. You had a woman you loved. Why can't Han? Gosh. It's just like this doesn't look like the same room that was like training his lightsaber with the remote droid. All right, so here we're out of hyperspace to Kessel. In order to get to Kessel, you have to go through the Maelstrom and follow the Kessel Run. So the Kessel Run is literally like a pre-established route to safely go through this dangerous cluster. The Maelstrom is just a massive cluster of matter that contains gas and ice and monsters and whatnot. And the Maw is inside of all this Maelstrom stuff too. Leah says that is because he shouldn't be seeing anyone but Leia, okay? You're hilarious. It says it is newer. I assume he's talking about the Falcon. Yeah, I know. I get that's the point that they were going for. Instead of making it newer, they changed its like essence. Peter says I like the clean appearance of the Falcon. It fits Lando's personality. He's the kind of guy that worries about keeping appearances. That's fair. That's fair. So this is like a weird conversation. Like it's not weird between the droid and Kira until the droid starts talking about, I understand love. Me and Lando, we're in love. And even this scene would work and just be a humorous thing until later in the movie when L3 dies and Lando's like cradling her. Like, it's just so dumb. But yeah, this scene, like, if it wasn't for that moment later, this scene would be funny because Kira's actually like, yeah, sure, whatever you say. I guess Alden would come to the set with the book because they have this. It's like the Millennium Falcon manual, owner's manual. It's a fun little book, but he'd come to set with it and be like, okay, so this is this. I got to make sure to flip switches and all this stuff. Kessel. Spoiler alert, bro. I'm spoiling stuff all over the place. Kevin says Lando does complain about Han changing his ship in Empire Strikes Back, but does fit in with that. What have you done with my ship? Yeah, he says that before he even goes into the ship, though. I mean, it's fair. If it works for you guys, that's cool. I just think they went a little bit too far. All right, so here's Kessel, the Spice Mine Kessel, which is mentioned by C-3PO in the very first Star Wars movie. And apparently, not only do they retrieve spice from the planet, but they also get coaxium. Didn't know that. So here come Pikes, again created by George Lucas himself. They're a cool alien design. I actually really like the way the Pikes look. And look, Peter, speaking of Kira and her costumes, that girl in the red cape is just like very nice. Beckett is wearing the same disguise that we see Lando wear in Return of the Jedi. She just comes out like spoutless nonsense. The Pikes look a little bit different here in the live-action version they do in the animated TV series. They don't have quite as long of necks. Alright, so Chewie and Han are disguised as being prisoners. They just get shocked. A lot of the look for Kessel was based on these I need to look at it so I get it right. So many notes for movies like this that I haven't watched enough or know enough trivia of for myself just offhand. So yeah, in Ethiopia, there's like these weird natural gases that create these kind of pools, and they want to go and maybe explore it and shoot some of the movie there, but it was too dangerous because the gases were like corrosive, would mess up their equipment and perhaps their health, I guess. But if you Google there's a name for these pools, Dalal. It's a small village in Ethiopia called Dalal. It's gorgeous, these little yellow pools. They look just like that. So Kira punched Han in the gut. Peter says, no capes. Is that a reference to The Incredibles? Because I think she looks pretty dang good in a cape. Alright. So we see Chewie and Han being taken down to become slaves. And Kira, who is posing as an admiral for some Federation, is going to go discuss an arrangement with Quay. Quay is the name of this main Pike character. This scene actually does a good amount of like building of suspense that I enjoy. Like you kind of feel like Kira's in a bad position here, right? Like all our heroes are literally separated. Chewie ripped off someone else's arms, not just one arm, two arms. You all might remember watching The Force Awakens with me, there was a deleted scene where Chewie rips off the arm of Unkar Plutt. And that cut, so we didn't get to see him rip anybody's arms off. We get to see it here, which is a lot of fun. At some point, Anthony Daniels, who plays C-3PO, is in this scene toward the end. I guess he's one of the slaves. So he's like the only actor who's been in every Star Wars movie ever. He's playing 3PO in this movie, but he's here. Terrasi. Okay, so that fighting technique that Kira just used is one that was established in the Shadow of the Empire novel back in the day. Still my favorite expanded universe novel of all time. Takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Kelvin says Lando only has one disguise, right? It's been sitting in the Falcon for years and years and years. He didn't take it with him when he gave it to Han. He just left it there on the ship. Oh wait, that's Woody. Yeah. Well, I got what you meant, Kelvin. It's wearing the costume, but it's still Lando's costume, guys. All right, so L3 is like liberating droids. Yay! It's a droid. Our heroes are trying to figure out how to coaxium. It's good to see some of these droids and stuff. Some of these ones that are more of my favorites from the classics. Yes, so many Gonk droids. I love it. There's Twi'lek. Okay, so that's a classic alien species that is around. I think there was a Twi'lek on Dryden Voss's yacht too. There's droids in the background just pounding on things. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. All right, so the slaves are free. There's a droid just hammering the keyboard. I don't remember so much. It's funnier than I recall. So Chewie, I think, sees fellow Wookiees. These other Wookiees, when they designed these other Wookiee suits, they were playing around with like injuries, scars, like their hair is matted in some spots. You're not gonna be able to see it here while they're down in the caves, I don't think. But once everybody gets inside, you might see some weird stuff going on. Somebody was saying it looked like a character from not Planet of the Apes, maybe Planet of the Apes. You know how we get to see Chewie like really use some brute force? Yeah, that Wookiee's face looks a little odd. So many bulky helmets. Kelvin says, do Wookiees have tongues? I want to say yeah. I think that's a funny bit with him. I want to say when we see Chewie open his mouth, growl, there is like a bit of a tongue. It's like no bigger than a human tongue. Why do you ask? All right, so here's the coaxium, the raw, unrefined coaxium. Careful, bro. Get it, guys, it's dangerous as he literally drops on the ground. Here's Lando with his video blog, his vlog. I love he doesn't, you know, he can't be bothered with helping everybody else out. I guess now there's some noise, he's finally like, okay, I guess I'll join the fight. Lando, I guess Billy D like met up with Donald Glover or whatever and gave him points, but really all I remember is Billy D was like, oh, just, you know, be cool. Says, why don't they speak other languages? They have the intelligence. I don't know. Wookiees must just not want to take the time to learn basic. Basic, of course, is the English language, unless you're watching Star Wars in another language. Then that language would become basic. But who knows? Maybe there's something about their anatomy that doesn't allow them to speak other languages. That's a great question. That's a cute moment. I'm Chewie's friend, Han. And he was like, okay, I want to look out for Anthony Daniels here. He's got a weird thing over his weird hat on, and I think he yells something. It's probably going to be so fast. Oh, this is a cool shot when Lando throws the blaster to Han. Look at this set design, Super cool. This is what I love about the new era of Star Wars films. It's back to that grungy. There's the toss, that like how many takes did it take for Donald Glover to throw that blaster in the air perfectly for Alden to then catch it? But yeah, see, my issue with many issues with the prequel trilogy is like the aesthetic seems very clean, seems very artificial. It's mostly CGI. Here we have real sets, and then it's got this really gritty, dirty, grime on your fingertips sort of feel. I don't see Anthony Daniels anywhere. I know there's storage places where Obi-Wan and Luke and Han all hide on in A New Hope. Oh no, L3's down. I'm so emotionally distraught. That's some cool camera work, though. The camera tracks Lando as he dives and moves around. And kudos to Donald Glover for giving this all he's got. I mean, the droids like falling to pieces. Bro, leave it. Doesn't make sense. Like, I don't care how much attached you are to it. It's an inanimate object now. There he is. That was Anthony Daniels who yelled there for a hot second. He had a hat on. Ah! I love that little moment there where the Wookiees nod heads. I'm not sure where all the Wookiees and slaves are supposed to go. This kind of runs the same issue that Last Jedi has, where it's like, okay, we rescued some of you, but you're on your own from here on out. We don't have room in our ship. We only have room for the Axiom. Rick. Oh, you need a time signature. Yes, my friend. Sorry. Oh, I get to watch some of this one. Oh, Disney Plus, but you have Netflix. All right, Eric, we are at 1 hour, 23 minutes and 20 seconds. 1:23 and a half. 1:20 and a half. So we're just lift off on the planet, off of the planet Kessel. And since Lando is injured, we get to see Han pilot the Falcon for the first time. Look at him. He's so hopeful in this movie. It's like before he's become really jaded, which is kind of fun. Lando's are like, I can fix you. And she's gone. Woof. And then they come up with the idea to put her in like the computer, which I also don't love. Sorry if there's any big L3 out there. I don't think there are, but I'm sure they exist around this world. Kessel. It's a cool design. It's funny that like Anthony Daniels 3PO mentioned the Spice Mines of Kessel, and now he played this and the Spice Mines of Kessel. Eric, you got it? Good, man. We're in the cockpit right now. Chewie just came in, and Bet is checking out this raw, unrefined coaxium. So with the Maelstrom too. 714 was like the old Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Earth. They kind of wanted this journey through the Maelstrom to be very like that, hence the big monsters and everything that they come across. Reminds me a lot of the old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie. Uh-oh! Classic John Williams theme there. The verse itself. Star Destroyer. What you gonna do, Han? That is a cool image though, right? The Star Destroyer in that tunnel. Hannah! How are you, sweetie? How is Obi? My friend Hannah guys, has a dog named Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's a very, very dog. He's got the biggest smile. Pitbulls. I love pitbulls so much. All right, so Han's got to find a different way out, which means he take the normal Kessel Run. When I was a kid, I always thought the Kessel Run referred to like a race. Parsec is not a measure of speed; it's a measure of distance. He is a good boy. Love him. Say hi to Ben for me. So since the whole joke is all in that Han was able to run the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs or 12 parsecs, they had to figure out, okay, so how do we make this a distance thing? So he's basically cutting out of the safe route and going through the nebula, through the maelstrom. And that's when he comes into contact with all of the crazy stuff, the Maw and the monster thing. Eric, is that Joey King? I have no idea. We get to see Beckett in the... why can I never remember the names of these weapons? You gotta help me out here. What are those? Gunners? That's a funny joke. I don't know what that means. Ben says hi, we're listening to you nerd out while we make pizza. Wish you only the best. I could be here. Thanks, guys. I'm so glad you're putting up with all my nerdiness because it's definitely a lot. Tobias Beckett, the actress, Joey King. So, Eric, I'm confused which character you're talking about, though. Are you talking about Kira? Or... That's the only actress on set right now, and that is by Emilia Clarke. Good to hear the classic Star Wars score, though. This is when Chewie said, and he's like, hey guys, I know but I know exactly what I'm doing when it comes to flying ships. And we find out that he's 190 years old, which means he'll be right at 200 during the original trilogy. Which I remember that being like a trivia fact from as a kid, way back in the day, and I had like all the characters and their ages and everything. And Chewie was listed as 200 years old. So, here's the Falcon as it starts to fall apart. Peter says the Falcon has ventral cannons. Okay, yeah. The cannons. Beckett is in the cannons right now. So you hear the Star Wars theme. The classic Star Wars theme. Oops, the ventral reverses the cannon on the bottom of the ship. Emilia Clarke, Eric. Yeah. You're good, man. The Falcon was situated on a much larger warship. Oh, Peter's pulling out some quotes from Wikipedia about the Falcon. Love it. Hannah's eating cheese pizza. Are you putting any meat? Or wait, are you eating meat now, Hannah? I feel like there was a time where you were not eating meat, but now that you're back in the old Midwest, maybe you are. Or you're on the East Coast. In LA, nobody eats meat. Alright, have we become a monster yet? I want to talk about how cool the monster looks, because the design was like a jellyfish, turtle sort of looking thing. So they're ripping out a piece of L3's brain, and the coaxium, meanwhile, is like becoming unstable, all at the same time. Talk about crazy state. Am I right? Wikipedia, 100% accurate, 60% of the time. That is true. There's no meat. You live in North Carolina. Yeah, I knew you were on the East Coast. Of course I remember. Rebecca, I wish we could watch. I haven't seen it yet, so Zach didn't want to listen to a commentary first. Oh, that's fair, Rebecca. Zach hasn't seen sell yet, huh? Well, put it on the list. So this is very much very like an old Jules Verne novel. They're stuck out in the middle of nowhere, almost as if they're under the sea, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Whatever that compass thing is, they pull it out of L3, almost looks like a submarine type of thing. Yeah, I really like this stuff. This is fun. We have the red light now, similar to the lighting that was used in The Last Jedi. And they were going for a submarine look on their dreadnought. And here's the monster, the jellyfish looking monster. That's a living thing. So they actually took a turtle mouth to make off of this crazy thing. I think we get a clear shot of it coming up. This also reminds me of Phantom Menace stuff, right? When they're in the middle of Naboo, the planet. There's the Maw. So the Maw is like this black hole, right? These gravity wells you get sucked into. So Han, of course, has the clever idea of coaxing the crazy monster into the Maw. There's that turtle mouth. Oh, I love the idea too when they have to blast out of there and they put like a little bit of drop of Axiom. Tobias has got to be in that. Eric, yeah, this is so 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I know, right? That's a movie I've not seen in ages. Look at that. That is a cool creature design. The Kraken, yeah, man. You're so right, Eric. Get it, Beckett. All the eyes on the monster. Alright, so while we're continuing to enjoy this action sequence, see, Hannah's trying to get me to sing. Yeah, I ain't doing that. While we're with this action sequence, I might chat a little bit more about the writing, because I think I mentioned earlier that Lawrence hired his son, and they'd never worked together before, so it was kind of a risky move for him to be like, okay, kid, why don't you help me write this? And I know that they disagreed on a fair amount of character stuff. And Lawrence, the dad, actually talks about how it's kind of a struggle. There's that extra emotional component. Like things are all, when you're with a partner, things are always going to get kind of emotional. Good, bad, ugly. And when it's like your flesh and blood, I can only imagine it being even difficult. I tried to like Leah's comment and or Hannah's comment and like the one. Oh well. Sing, sing, sing. I'm not gonna sing right now. I don't remember songs from how to. People are gonna be watching this on YouTube channel later on, and I don't need them to see, non-warmed up voice. All right, so here they drop just a little bitty bit of the. And here for a second looks like it isn't going to work. I love that image of the Falcon kind of turning on its back before it corrects itself and busts out of there. There's that John Williams. You've been talking for 2 hours. My voice is warm, but it's also tired. Where's my water? How to for a job. How to advance from mailroom. Alright, that's all you get. Can't believe I did that. Sing during the credits. He says, oh, I already did. That was the opening for Succeed in Business Without Really Trying that I was in with Hannah back in college. And Hannah played the, what would you call that role? Like a maid? Were you a maid? She like came through, mopped the floor and was hysterical. Savareen. We're finally out of the Kessel Run sequence. And Savareen, this is the planet where they have to refine and process the coaxium. And Falcon's not in great shape, obviously. And it makes a crash landing there. And Lando's not happy. Eric says, I've loved the sound design for the Falcon. Agreed. I love the sound design. It's so brilliant. Aaron, that's right. Aaron came down to see How to Succeed. Love that show. It was a good show. It was a long show. You hear Han brag about his 12 parsecs, and everyone's like, I don't care. Not if you round down. Apparently it's like 12 and a half parsecs is what he did the run in. Lando is not pleased. This is fun here, this moment where he says, I hate you. Very much a callback to the Leia on bit in Empire Strikes Back when she says, I love you, I know. I hate you, I know. Sideburns Glover has, though. And then I don't ever want to see you again. Oh, I forget he has those gloves. Those are the same gloves he wears in the very first week. You never want to see me again? Here's Kira. A lot of this stuff here was shot on the Canary Islands off of the coast of Spain. They set up all little here. He's going off to eat. Thanks for the entertainment. Oh, thanks, Anna. Miss you guys. He's kind of continuing to ask Kira to just run away with him and leave Dryden Voss. There's another Game of Thrones connection coming up in about 10 minutes that I'll mention to you guys. Little tease there. I like all this. They don't have like best of the best chemistry. Like it's no Adam Driver, Daisy Ridley chemistry, but they still are pretty good playing off one another. This is also interesting where he's like, no, I'm not a good guy. But of course he is. And that's been a topic of debate among Star Wars fans is like, people think that he should have always been a bad guy prior to A New Hope. And there's also the argument that, well, maybe his moral compass ebbs and flows through a lifetime, which I think makes a little more sense. And I like the idea that he's become more jaded because of what happens to what Kira ends up doing to him. Kelvin, where does this rank on your Star Wars film list? Yeah, Kelvin, I have this, I think 8? 7 or 8? Yes, I think it's 7 actually. And Kelvin, I know you love the prequels, but I have those 3 at the rock bottom. It's like prequels and Last Jedi are all rock bottom for me. Alright, so the Cloud Riders and their leader, Enfys Nest. The name Enfys Nest, by the way, those are both Welsh names. And Enfys is translated to the word rainbow. So it's like a rainbow nest. There's another classic Western shot where Han goes for his blaster. So, or yeah, her helmet. There's a poem actually written on Enfys Nest's helmet. And I looked it up. It was a pretty cool poem. I don't remember what it is. But you can see the writing. This is Han like trying to threaten them and be like, yo, I'm going to surround you guys. Because they still think that the Pale Rider or the Cloud Riders are the bad guys. So goes the Millennium Falcon. Lando's like, peace, y'all. Good try, Han. That's a funny little bit. And we get the big reveal. Girl, she has such a cool look. I love the freckles. I'm still kind of weirded out that it's a girl, to be honest with you. But she, like, what a little actress. Freckles are awesome. So what they were kind of going for, here's your Game of Thrones tidbit. In addition to Emilia Clarke in this movie, they based the Enfys Nest kind of role off of Arya Stark. Of course, we don't get that much time with Enfys, so we don't really get to see that per se. That was sort of what they were going for. And here she explains, hey, we're actually good. We just want to stop Crimson Dawn because Crimson Dawn is the worst, and they go to planets and cut people's tongues out. In fact, a lot of these locals here on Savareen have had their tongues cut out by Crimson Dawn as well. Which I guess is why this woman draws the picture of Crimson Dawn, which is the same marking that's on Kira's wrist, indicating like she is property now of Crimson Dawn. I might rank this one about the same spot as you, though. Cool! Yay! Caleb on the same page with Solo. So now we get to see all the Cloud Riders. Ooh, two tubes. So, okay, here's Warwick Davis, who's in all the movies, and apparently his character is Weasel, the same character that he plays in Phantom Menace at the pod race scene. I remember when Warwick Davis is like cheering, and then Anakin wins the pod race. He's sitting in Watto. Well, apparently after he leaves Tatooine, he joins up with the Riders and kind of becomes a rebel of sorts. So that's kind of cool. And I think there's a Rodian. I'm always on the lookout for classic alien creatures. The Rodians are the Greedo characters, right? Greedo. So I'm pretty sure there's one here. Calvin, at least they can all still speak. I forgot the name of the language. Shriwook. It's a very weird name. Yeah, that's true. Got their tongues, you mean? Maybe the Wookiees got their tongues cut out. I don't know. We're walking on a weird path here with the tongue stuff. Alright, so Beckett's like, no, dude, we can't give the coaxium to these goody two club people. Dryden's gonna be pissed. So Han's developing a plan. Because he's an old soft. So one thing about Jonas, the guy in the Chewbacca suit who's now taken over the role. Wait, maybe Peter was still alive here. All I know is that he wrote a letter and dedicated it to Peter and was like, hey, I'm performing as Chewbacca now, but not just for the Star Wars fans, specifically for you, Peter, the one who started this role. And it was just really touching to see. They worked together on Force Awakens, and they both helped bring Chewie to life. And now that Peter's gone, in Jonas's hands. Peter Mayhew was 7'1", by the way. What a tall drink of water. What's on Tatooine? Wink, wink. See, Alden was originally signed on for 3 movies, and even Emilia Clarke signed on for a multi-picture deal. I don't know if it was 2 or 3, but they were hoping that this was gonna, become a thing, become a new franchise within the franchise. And when it bombed, they were like, okay, I guess that's not happening. You can clearly see at the end here, mentioning Jabba, when we see the big reveal coming up here in a few moments. I won't spoil that one, in case there's people there who haven't seen this, but I'm certain you all have. But yeah, they were really hoping for more, and I don't think we'll ever see that. What I'm kind of bummed about, I mean, I don't love Alden in this role, but I'm fascinated by where they're going. So they're coming back to the yacht. and apparently they have something planned, but we as an audience don't know what that something is yet. They've mentioned several times, by the way, the 5 syndicates. Those are like the 5 families, very much like a mob. And I think I briefly this earlier. It's like the Pikes and the Hutts and Crimson Dawn and Black Sun. And for those of you Clone Wars fans, there's what's called Shadow Collective. Darth Maul is like the head of another very similar collection of crime organizations. And that group, collective, kind of dissolved over some time. And then the 5 syndicates kind of becomes very similar to the Shadow Collective. All right, so back with Paul Bettany. Did I mention earlier, like, he called up Ron Howard as soon as he figured out that Ron got the directing gig, and Paul was like, Ron, can I beg you to put me in this movie? Because they were together on A Beautiful Mind. If you haven't seen that Oscar-winning film, Paul Bettany is great in that movie. There was a whole side joke here where Han was trying to eat something that was served to him. There's a deleted scene of him, like it's like a squid thing that's supposed to be similar to an animal found on Naboo. And they cut it out, which is probably the best. He's just so delightfully creepy and swarmy. Especially when he's to her. It's gross. I also feel like he wouldn't be able to lie very well. The markings on his face would give him. Kelvin says, great film. Beautiful Mind? Yeah. It's one of my favorites. I think that's the second movie I saw Paul Bettany in. First would have been, of course, A Knight's Tale, which he's great in that, too. He's just good. He's good in everything. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the WandaVision TV show. All right, so Dryden already kind of suspects that something's happening here, so he's like, I want to see the coaxium before I pay you. And despite Han being, well, yo, it's really dangerous. But okay. This is where the plot gets a little messy. Really some of this stuff. Jen still isn't convinced. I love to see Dryden Voss has like this wristwatch thing, like this huge, massive I don't know if it's a bracelet or what. So he knows, or he thinks he knows, that it's not the real stuff. So this is where it gets a little muddy for me, because there's so many people deceiving other people that I found it difficult to track. There's a double cross, and there's a triple cross, and it's just like, okay, what's going on here? So supposedly this is fake because somebody paid him off. And he's about to walk through the door right now. Tobias Beckett himself stabbed Han and Kira in the back. That is assuming Kira is still a good guy. Woody Harrelson. I still don't know if that is real hair or not. I think it's got to be a hairpiece. Supposedly in this office there's supposed to be a dead Minoc. But I keep looking for it, I don't see it. So his security officers find the gun, find the blaster. Here we are finishing up the refinement. Uh-oh. So, okay. Dryden Voss has sent his officers down to go collect the actual coaxium, but Han figured that Beckett was going to backstab him, so he has the actual riders hiding. It's just very complicated, and I should probably shut up and let you guys all watch it, but it's a little difficult to track. I wonder if they digitally enhanced Paul's eyes there. Obviously, the stuff on his face is all CGI, but look how red his eyes are.
Tried to warn me about her. You know you're wrong about one thing. What? I was paying attention. Don't shoot at people predictable.
I knew you were going to backstab us the whole time, so I told you that this was fake coaxium, but it's actually the real coaxium. Did Kira? I wonder if Kira knew that they did this. Those aren't Cloud Riders at all. They're just the villagers. They can't. There's the Rodian. I knew. Okay, and then here's tubes. So you guys might remember in Rogue One, which I guess is after this on the timeline. Ooh, it's so hard to track. There's the real nest hiding out on top of the hut. Peter, and then. Yeah, it's like, okay. Then the real coaxium is here. Well, good thing Raiden didn't like try to open it when he was like, oh, it looks almost real. So now Beckett is finally decided to turn his back on Dryden Voss, even though the whole movie he's not wanted to do that. But yeah, back to Tutus for just 1 second. I don't know if you all have even caught that or if you know what alien I'm talking about. It's literally the alien guy with the 2 tubes. So I guess he's been hanging out with Enfys Nest, and then at some point in the next 5 years, he moves to Jeddah and joins up with Saw Gerrera's rebels. Which I guess is cool. It flies. And now we get a little showdown in the office. See, a lot of this stuff actually does remind me of the old film noir films. Deception, mystery, I guess. Again, you have the femme fatale type of archetype in Kira. His blades are kind of cool. This would have been totally different if the villain was supposed to be like a CG type of character. Like I'm curious. I wish I could see. There's got to be some sort of concept art out there somewhere, kind of showing us what they were thinking. Ooh, Kira knows how to fight. There's a big story about all those crystals that are on those tables too. Uh-oh. Oh! She did end up siding with the boy she loves. Or did she? It just goes back and forth, back and forth. So... I mean, it makes sense though because like it's pretty clear that Kira has been manipulated by Dryden, and she does not like Dryden because he's a creep and he's doing creepy things. So I think definitely wants him dead. She made sure that happened, and now she's going to basically take his position, perhaps. Or maybe she's going to run away with Han. Yeah, so there's a big like backstory about all those crystals and stuff, those diamonds. She kisses him, so yeah, maybe this is a happy ending. They're going to run off together and make space babies. Leah says, this movie will never get a sequel because no one wants to see Han with anyone but Leia. Well, alright. I would see a sequel. I wonder, it'll be interesting to see what Luke does in the future. Like, will we ever see movies made between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens? Are they going to try and, like, recast those roles? That would be odd. Alright, Kira's, I'm right behind you. Leah says I would watch a potato for 2 hours if it had Star Wars title. Hey, come on. I would watch it once, but I wouldn't rewatch it. Alright, so Kira takes the ring off of Dryden. Perhaps because she's ready to now step into the position as the leader of Crimson Dawn. Oh yeah, so here's Beckett with a gun to his back, directing him to head off with the coaxium. Oh boy, and here's the big moment where we see who the dad really is. I can't believe I haven't spoiled this. Han and Leia forever down with this ship. Alright, so they had a lot of different people on this short list of who the big bad was going to be at the end of the movie. And Ron Howard especially really pushed to have this guy be the bad. Kira says that Beckett killed everyone, and there is Maul. Technically no longer a Darth, but play the same actor as Phantom Menace. Good old Park in LA. He's got his mechanical legs there, and so the voice, you guys might remember from my Phantom Menace stuff, Ray doesn't do his own voice work, but what's really interesting is that they brought back a couple voice actors to try to do the role. They brought back the guy who did the voice in Phantom Menace, but they also brought back the guy who did the voice in Clone Wars, and they ended up eventually just going with the Clone Wars voice actor, and I guess tell the Phantom Menace voice actor until like the day before the premiere, and he's like, oh, okay. But yeah, that's what I would be interested in. Where would they have gone with this Maul stuff? I don't know. I'm interested in hearing your guys' opinions because we're obviously never see that now. But how is there interest on your behalf to like see what Kira and Maul would have ended up doing? Peter, I have not seen the Family Guy Blue Hearts. I saw a little bit of the Empire Strikes Back one, whatever that one was called. Alright, and here, first off, I gotta say, Chewie's costumes look so much better in this movie than... It's pretty bad on Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion, with the way they changed his mouth. But he looks solid in this film. Alright, so this scene is basically just a big middle finger to the A New Hope change with the Han shot first bit. Because everybody was so mad about Greedo shooting it on first, which I totally agree with. I think it's kind of a dumb thing. So I believe that Ron Howard and the writer, Kasdan, wanted to make sure Han shot Beckett first before Beckett could do it to him. Kelvin, does he talk in the Phantom Menace? Maul has 3 lines in the Phantom Menace, but all done by a guy named Peter Saravijuis or something like that. Is it 1 line, Peter? I think it's at least 2. At last we will reveal ourselves. At last we will have revenge. And then, I know he says something else to him in the scene. Oh, Tatooine is sparsely populated. It'll take a while to something. So there's 2 lines in Phantom Menace. But yeah, it's not the voice actor. They went with Sam Witwer, who did Clone Wars Maul. And here we see Kira leaving. Oh, she wasn't loyal to Han after all. It's for me because now Han really feels betrayed. The one person that he really had complete faith in from an early age is flying away from him. Especially since she said Dryden was like the main reason that she couldn't run off. And of course we know that it's because Maul is around. But look at Chewie putting it on his shoulder. Leia says because the worst and isn't Leia. Can't win with you, woman. This is a cute shot. So now I'll be your best friend, bro. You don't need her. You're right. You're right, Chewie. You're the best companion a guy could ask for. Alright, the sun is setting on Savareen. Axiom. They're going to pass it off to Nest. This is an interesting tidbit. Apparently in the there's 2 tubes. My boy 2 tubes that I kept talking about earlier. But I guess Enfys Nest takes this coaxium to Saw Gerrera, which is kind of cool. Maybe that's when 2 tubes decides to change his team. That's a good little shot of Alden there. Peter Kira is the best, except in this last scene. She's still pretty. She is pretty. I want to see more of that Rodian too. I guess he's not going to make more of an appearance. This is your chance, Han. You can join the Rebels. Maybe someday you'll feel different. Wink. No, I don't mind stuff like that. It's kind of a cute little inside joke that the audience has. Peter Strip says 2 tubes and a microphone. I love that she gives him just a tiny bit of coaxium so he can go buy his own ship. Which I'm trying to remember if we see him fly off in it. Does he? What ship does he end up buying? Because he's got to go. Oh, that's right. So, but he tracks down Lando somehow in Hawaii. I mean, whatever this tropical planet is, where Lando's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. It's like, well, I never thought I'd see you again. Smooth, Han pulls him in for a hug. So this is kind of like a reflection of Empire Strikes Back when Lando goes out and pretends that he's pissed off at Han, right? And then he brings him a hug. So, Michael, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. You met for the last 1 minute of the movie. I know you're not watching the movie. I'm glad you stopped by to say hi. You my Star Trek buddy. Maybe I'll do Star Trek after this. Just not as big of a Star Trek fan, but I do like the J.J. Abrams version of Star Trek. All right, so this is where Han actually wins. There's a Twi'lek right on the right. Star Wars isn't Star Wars without a Twi'lek. Oh, I like the coaxium in there as well. And of course, Lando realized he no longer has a card up his sleeve. See, now all I want to do is go to Batuu. Batuu is the planet that Galaxy's Edge is. So whenever you end up going to Disney, when they reopen their gates, you'll be able to check it out. But yeah, seeing them place a box just reminds me of my vacation there. That's right. So the movie ends with them flying off in the Falcon, as it should. Oh, I forgot to mention that for the role of Tobias Beckett, they did consider Christian Bale for a while, which which is an even bigger name than Woody Harrelson. Except at least Christian has a better way of like disguising who he is behind his characters. And here heroes go off to a galaxy far away, and it ends the dice again. I just think the dice are so overused. All right, so thank you so much for joining, ladies and gentlemen. I will end with a quote that I found that kind of reiterates like what I was saying about my issue with another actor playing the role of Han Solo. So this was from a review that was done shortly after the movie came out. It says, Han Solo is a dashing rogue, a scoundrel with a twinkle in his eye, but so what? Characters like him are cheap and plentiful. It was the formidable charisma of Harrison Ford that turned him into a pop culture juggernaut. Recasting him is akin to recasting Indiana Jones. It's a cinematic cardinal sin. And somebody earlier actually mentioned that it's almost as bad as recasting Indiana Jones. So that's my biggest issue with the movie, I think, is I never really quite buy that it is the Han Solo. I have a lot of problems with the movie. There's a lot of things that I like about the movie. As I was saying to Kelvin, it's a little below the middle of the pack. But yeah, can't buy that it's actually Han. All right, guys, thanks again for joining. We have a movie Tuesday night, The Rise of Skywalker. Going to be a lot of drama involved with watching that one because I love it, and there are lots of people who don't seem to. As I hope you have a wonderful evening, and may the Force be with you.